Oh, hi there. Thank you for staying with us. Up to this point, we dig into the papers now, and it's quite a number of them we have to dig into this morning. Don't you forget to reach out to us with the hashtag AM Show. But before we dig into the papers, and before I welcome my partner in crime today via Zoom, just an alert that today we dig into the situation of a lack of potable water in some parts of the northern belt of the country, the northeast region, the Savannah region, and the Oti region. It doesn't mean it's limited to these regions, but some issues being raised in those regions. We also talk about matters of national security, especially in respect of DCOP Ayensu or Pare Ado, and what happened to him in recent times. He's claiming that some operatives of the Delta forces actually whisked him away in handcuffs and that an AK-47 rifle was pointed at him. We delve into that when we get into the talk segment of the show. But right now, let's dig into the papers. And I'll be joined shortly by Gov't Ando Pia, the head of our security desk. She'll be interacting with me on the news review. But I have the Daily Graphic, the Ghanaian Times, the Finder newspaper, and the Economy Times. Gov't Ando Pia, a very good morning to you. Can you hear me? All right, so we'll be joined by Gov't. So I'll just seize the opportunity to mention that we also have the Daily Statesman, the Business and Financial Times, the Daily Guide, and, of course, the Daily Dispatch newspaper. So let's kickstart the conversation, shall we? I'll start with the Daily Graphic with some headlines. Later, we'll delve into the details. Ghana Health Service go to same center for second COVID-19 jab. So you'll definitely see me sometime tomorrow making a beeline for where I got my first shot. In fact, today I went to look for my card, so I have it on the ready. And tomorrow I got my jab on the 3rd of March, so the 19th is when I ought to be getting my second one. How about you? Well, that's a challenge I'm throwing to you. CEO Summit, government focused on strong economy. That's according to Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. I'll give you some tidbits from that story. Graphic sanitation campaign hits Kumasi tomorrow. And I'll tell you something. I was somewhere yesterday. I'll not mention where, but likely tomorrow you'll see the footage. And if you look at the community and sanitation, oh my word. So we have quite a bit of work to do. In fact, it's a Herculean task, but we were indeed promised that this city would be the cleanest in Africa. So let's get it done. Yes, we can. Seal $2 billion leakage, tax consultant urges over illicit gold trade. I'm talking about Dr. Abdallah Ali Nachia, senior lecturer at the law school at the University of Ghana. In other stories, let's go to the international page. African heads of state set for Paris summit, and cannabis cocaine seized in drug busts. When you go to the gender page of the newspaper, that is page 13, invest more in empowering women and girls, and that's according to the United Nations Population Fund. There's a whole lot more that we can do in that regard, and tied into that, First Lady supports Gambaga camp. You know of these witch camps and all of what happens in some of these areas. Well, the First Lady has been reaching out. The middle spread of the paper, we've made progress in Wesley Girls School en passe. Do you know the Peace Council has been meeting with the chief imam, and we'll delve into the details of that story. Some agreements reached there. Safeguard nation sovereignty, NCC urges immigration service. On the back page of the paper, Adan Salt Factory targets 1 million tons annually. Another exciting story that we can delve into at the appropriate time. Do we have Gov't joining us yet? I guess not. So let's go with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Disarmed security guards, Forestry Commission orders licensed timber contractors. That's on page 17. And then the Ochehene is fuming over what at Galamsey's for polluting water bodies. And we've heard of that situation, which one of the papers actually captures, of a supposed member of the MPP whose excavators got burnt. Electrochem poised to employ 6,000 youth for a dance salt project, and President's update on pandemic COVID-19 second jab begins tomorrow. There's also, when you get into the paper proper, page 3, 3 nabbed for allegedly assaulting immigration officers, and Rastafarian admission case. Court gives judgment on May the 31st. I guess some of you nearly forgot about that. Well, that one is also in there still. The Finder newspaper now. Newmont pays 1.8 billion Ghana cedis as taxes, royalties, and fees in 2020. Then there's we are into legal large-scale mining. Destruction of our machines unlawful. Extra Gold citing that incident. Several tax exemptions reliefs in 2021 budget to cushion against the negative impact of COVID-19 and waivers to serve as additional cash flows for businesses. That's according to the GRA's Commissioner General. I guess that will be it for the Finder newspaper. Now, I think we can get into the Daily Dispatch, where it says, fight against Galamsey, excavators allegedly belonging to NPP guru destroyed, equipment worth over $500,000 at play. And there's this one, Obu and Agriblue on naturopaths and vaccinations. Sanitation Minister inspects Ghana Water Company Limited's water treatment plants, and Ochehene calls for change in attitude. Now, this is one that I'm very interested in getting into. Men responsible for 40% of infertility cases in Ghana. Men responsible for 40% of infertility cases in Ghana. That's according to a fertility specialist. I'll bring you some details of that story, especially in our parts where when conception is not possible, usually the blame is assumed to be from the woman. So it would be interesting to get into that story. Now, the Daily Guide says Baumia explains the economic situation. I'll bring you details of that. And 217 million Ghana cedi financial loss. Opuni Agongo challenge judge. There's also 7 electrocuted near Shidium. When you go to the entertainment page, Miss Mexico crowned Miss Universe 2021. Kudos to her. And factions and music settle election feud. And, quite a lot to discourse on. It's been a while and the feud has gone on. But recent appointee, Deputy Ministerial appointee, Makro Kekru Mante, says feuding parties within Musica have agreed to some sort of settlement. There's also Ghana records increased remittances. That's on page 9 of the paper. Let's do the BNFT now. And it says, respect for nature will keep our environment clean. That's according to the Ochehene. Government bets on Ghana card digitization to leapfrog economic growth. And then raise revenue, control spending to bring debts down. That's the IMF to government. And is this something we didn't know? I mean, I always say it when these economic policies are profit, right from the days of structural adjustment in the 80s to now. We know exactly what must be done. There's this quote by the former, he was with the European Union, Juncker, and he talks about the fact that it is not that politicians do not know what must be done, but the fear is whether they will get re-elected after they've done what must be done. So I guess that's the big question. Let's settle for the details now in the papers. I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. And maybe I should go to page 16 first. I should start from the middle belt of the paper. So the Ghana Health Service is saying go to same center for second COVID-19 jab. Persons who are eligible for the second shot of the coronavirus vaccine will have to go to the same center where they took the first shot for the repeat dose when the exercise begins tomorrow. The expanded program on immunization of the Ghana Health Service has said. Again, such persons must ensure that they present the cards they were given when they took the first jab, as the card, which is a form of identity, will facilitate the data needed, as well as make it easier to verify persons who actually qualify to receive the second shot. So go to the same center, carry your card. It doesn't mean if you've lost your card, all is lost. That is not what is said. But to ensure that you don't go through a cumbersome process to get your second jab, ensure that you're going to the same center and that you're carrying your card. That's the best way to do it. Of course, there are going to be ways of verifying in case genuinely you have lost your card. But if you have it, don't go and stress the officials there. Now, In terms of the vaccination cards, Dr. Amponsa Achiano indicated that once a person received the second shot, the card issued during the first jab would be replaced with a new one, which has enhanced features such as a QR code and hologram for easy authentication. And asked whether that card with enhanced features would be internationally accepted if need be, the EPI program manager said for now, no agreement had been reached yet on international cards, but that they would serve as a proof of vaccination that would be recognized anywhere. So moving forward, you see how relevant this could be. Even if you were traveling, the fact that you had taken the 2 jabs, if it came into question, you'll be able to prove that with this upgraded card that would be given to you. Now, let me take the Dr. Ali Nachia story about sealing the $2 billion leakage. I've spoken to a number of economists, one in recent times, and some of them simply point to the fact that if we're able to stem the leakages, economic leakages in our system, we'd be able to save so much and borrow so much less. But the point is, for most of these economists I've been interacting with, they say that it's a gory picture when it comes to public corruption, when it comes to leadership corruption. Of course, it's not everybody who's involved, but if we're able to stem it, that would save us quite a drain on our pockets. We know that in Ghana, we are set to lose between $3 to $6 billion every year when it comes to corruption. So just imagine it. If our economy is worth what, some 68 billion, 70 billion by way of GDP, if we got that, that is already about a tenth. 6 billion, that's already about a tenth of what we get every year. And think about what that could do in terms of road infrastructure, health infrastructure, and even water infrastructure, something we're talking about this morning. So this one says, plugging the gaping revenue leakages from the smuggling of gold by small-scale miners will boost the country's fiscal revenue. Almost $2 billion worth of gold is smuggled out annually by some small-scale miners to Dubai and India, making the country worse off. And that's according to senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Abdallah Ali Nachia. Now, he said in an interview with the Daily Graphic that about $6 billion of gold exported from Ghana to India and Dubai between 2013 and 2016 had not been reported, making the country lose revenue. And this wouldn't be the first time. So you see just how much of a drain this is. We export gold and we can't even account for the gold. The United Arab Emirates would say we exported this amount of gold from Ghana, yet per our own statistics, it would be something different. Of course, there would be something fishy in there. Now, on the raft of taxes, the government in its 2021 budget statement and economic policy introduced a raft of taxes, including the financial sector levy, energy sector levy, sanitation tax, in a bid to address revenue shortfalls. But Dr. Ali Nachia, who is a tax lawyer, insisted that the inherent revenue lost through illicit trading of the country's gold by small-scale miners could have generated more than the new taxes that were introduced. In other words, if we stem the tide of leakage, if we do the right thing, if we plug the holes, we can actually prevent, the profligacy, if you like, when it comes to borrowing that we become accustomed to. Okie doke. Now let's take a look at this story and maybe call it a wrap with the Daily Graphic. We've made progress in Wesley Girls School impasse, and the National Peace Council says it has made some progress in the impasse between the Wesley Girls Senior High School in the Central Region and the Muslim community over a decision by the school to prevent its Muslim students from fasting during the Ramadan period. It has therefore entreated people to remain calm, since efforts were being made to arrive at a peaceful resolution of the matter. The council also appealed to Muslims and Christians to desist from practices and commentary, especially on social media, on the issue, since such actions could further inflame passions. And this last point is one that I want to highlight because, guess what? I've seen some posts on social media, some people I'm friends with on social media, and the sort of rhetoric, very negative, very acerbic, what people were putting out there. This is not the time for us to stoke religious tensions. Because guess what? In a place like Nigeria, look at some of what that has generated. I'm not saying it's all bad there, but we don't want a piece of some of what they are experiencing. So let's keep, level heads, calm emotions, and ensure that we can actually stay on the trajectory that we've been on. Muslims, Christians, whoever you are, whatever you adhere to, 1992 Constitution says it. You have the right to adhere to that. I think it's Chapter 5 of our Constitution. So let's abide by that and tolerate whatever, everyone wants to adhere to. The Ghanaian Times newspaper. Disarm security guards. Forestry Commission orders licensed timber contractors. But I'll start with this one on page 3. Man arrested for attempting to sacrifice nephew for money rituals. And the 23-year-old fashion designer Benjamin Ajay has been arrested by the police for attempting to sacrifice his own nephew for money rituals at Abesim in the Sunyani municipality of the Bono region. The suspect allegedly lured the nephew 13 into a taxi cab, but luck eluded him when he was arrested upon a tip-off at the Abesim Tunnel police barrier on Sunyani Kumasi Highway on their way to the shrine on Saturday. So further details from the police say that an informant reported at the Abesim police station that he had received a call from the suspect who solicited his assistance to see a ritualist to help him to sacrifice his nephew for money rituals. Thankfully, that did not happen. But you see, I keep saying that whatever happens in our society is a reflection of all of us. It's a reflection of our leadership. It's a reflection of what we have accepted in our society. I mean, someone was making the point to me the other time. If you were to see a 19-year-old in a Range Rover and all of that, people would hail him. How many people would be asking, how did you get that? What did you go through? What is the source of your wealth? We see people flaunt wealth in this country, and we're even talking about taxes, yeah? But you see, even when you see the lifestyles of people, if someone has a Lamborghini, so to speak, and the person is declaring a certain sum in taxes, you can look at it and say, if you own a Lamborghini, you can draw certain lines between. If you have a house in where? Is it Villaggio or wherever? Then you can't be earning anything less than this. But we let all of this slide. And then the people, the poor ones who find themselves in the tax net are taxed and overtaxed and taxed and taxed and taxed again. So you see the sort of problem we have in our country, and it just gets from bad to worse. But coming back to the issue, this bit about people wanting to get rich quick. I don't know how we're going to solve it, but I think in there are leadership problems, moral issues to identify. And it will take all of us, because now I think the mindset of a lot of people, I've interacted with young people who have told me, right after school, I want to become a politician. Why? Oh yeah, that's where all the money is. That's the thinking. It may not be true, but that's what people are thinking. Now it's become money rituals, and from Amanfrom in the Kaswa enclave to all of those we've seen, many more are happening. How do we actually curb it? Well, only God knows. God help us, and we are all involved. Now, on the Rastafarian admission case, court gives judgment on May the 31st. The Accra Human Rights Court will on May the 31st determine whether Achimota Senior High School has violated the human rights of a student it asked to cut his Rastafarian hairdo before he attended classes. The student, Ohneba Kweku Nkrabia, who was offered admission to pursue general arts, is currently at home because his dreadlocks, which he keeps as a manifestation of his religion, is a subject of litigation. So May 31, that's the magic date to take stock of. Page 15 of the paper. Now, this has become a thorny issue. But before I get to that, PPP urges government to fix the country. That's on page 11. And the PPP has been speaking in recent times. It's highlighted, issues of the youth. It's talking about unemployment, dilapidated health systems. We saw that 12-year-old Henry Nate who lost his life because ambulances wouldn't move, hospitals wouldn't confirm that he could be brought to them and all of that. 12-year-old boy, life snuffed out. Skyrocketing home renting structures, poor road networks, lack of education, infrastructure, among others. National chairman of the PPP, Nana Ofori-Owusu, who made this known at a press conference in Accra, called on the government to immediately address the concerns raised by the youth, as promised by the MPP. We do know that on the back of the protests, some government officials, the vice president, the finance minister have spoken. Some of what they've said, well, let's see how it pans out. Let's see how it translates into bettering the lives of ordinary Ghanaians. But back to that story on page 15. Electrochem poised to employ 6,000 youth for Adan Salt project. And The Adasongo Salt Project, now Electrochem Ghana Limited, a subsidiary of the MacDan Group, will by the end of the year employ over 6,000 youth in Ada and its environs. Group chairman of the MacDan Group, Dr. Daniel Macaulay, has said. According to him, the company within 4 months of operation had provided over 1,000 jobs to the Adan youth and would provide more within the next few months. This has been a thorny area, an area of contention, a bone of contention, if you like, on this matter. Some have said that it's depriving those in the environs of work. Others have said that that is not the case. So if some 6,000 youth are going to get work as far as the Songo project is concerned, then some positive direction there. Let's take a look at some other papers. And this one, on the back of the fight against galamsey or illegal small-scale mining, that's on page 2. Story says we are into legal large-scale mining. Destruction of our machines, unlawful. That's Extra Gold. And the management of Extra Gold Mining Limited, a subsidiary of Canadian large-scale mining company Extra Gold Resources Corporation, has produced evidence to debunk claims that they are engaged in illegal mining activities, popularly known as galamsey, in the Abuakwa South municipality of the Eastern region. The company also stated that it is in good standing with the Minerals Commission and currently has 5 concessions totaling 226 square kilometers in the Eastern region. Attached to the letter was a copy of its 2021 Minerals Commission mining operating permits, which were issued on March 24 this year. Of course, this has been in response to the recent burning of 16 excavators and a bulldozer belonging to Extra Gold by a military detachment operating under Operation Halt 2. So this occurred on May the 16th, a few days ago. But the question has also been posed about prospecting licenses and how a lot of these, entities are using them. When you're prospecting, you don't necessarily have the right to mine. In fact, you don't. You have the right to go to certain levels, but not partake in the sort of full-scale mining that we see. But we also notice that a lot of people have prospecting licenses and still go ahead to mine. So very relevant case there, and we'll see how it pans out, because on the other end, while we're still trying to fight galamsey, we were told that those who already legally were exploiting the mineral resource wouldn't be sidelined or wouldn't be compelled to stop. So if they were legally doing it and they didn't fall within the remit of Operation Halt 2, then the question is, why were they targeted? So 2 sides to the story. Of course, the authorities will have to weigh them and determine whether any wrong was done to Extra Gold. In the next 4 to 5 minutes, let's wrap up on some more stories. I did promise I would get into this, so let's do that. That's on page 11 of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. So, very interesting one. Men responsible for 40% of infertility cases in Ghana. Wow. Okay, so it says more credible medical sources have asked men not to put the blame of childlessness wholly on the doorsteps of women. Men should also bear part of the blame. Now, about half of the causes of infertility are due to or include male factors, and infertility is one of the commonest conditions affecting reproductive age groups between 20 and 45 years. I guess that's what many men, most men wouldn't want to hear, that you are infertile or that you have any issues with your fertility. But Dr. Edem Kehiaji, a consultant obstetrician, a gynecologist and fertility specialist at the Lister Hospital and Family Center in Accra, brought these to the fore at a Merck media training for journalists in Asia and Africa via video conference. He said there had been unjustifiable condemnation of women who were unable to conceive, stressing that women alone should not be blamed, but men could also be contributive factors to the problem. And he mentions a series of diseases that could actually affect men. He had advised men to seek early medication for sexually transmitted diseases, especially gonorrhea, chlamydia, among others. And he also spoke of oligospermia, low sperm count, and azoospermia, which is no sperms at all in semen that is discharged. 1 or 2 more stories, likely one, and then we shall go on My Joy Online. So between the Daily Guide's story of 7 electrocuted near Shidium and raising revenue. So let's do this. A bit of each and we're good to go. So the Daily Guide on page 6. Let's quickly do this one. On page 6, it says 7 electrocuted near Shidium. 7 persons made of 4 adults and 3 children were electrocuted at Amanfrom, a farming community near Shidium in the Esutefe South District of Ahafo region on Friday evening. The dead have been identified as Janet Kwating, 30, K3 25, Yabetha 29, Christian Odro 14, and there's also Emmanuel Ajiman, Simon Ajiman, aged 2 and 7 respectively, and Ajenim Boating, aged 4. The disaster occurred when a thunderstorm struck pylons carrying high voltage electricity in the area. Sad, very sad situation. But on page 2 of the B&FT, raise revenue, control spending to bring debt down. The IMF charges government, and the International Monetary Fund has advised government to prioritize controlling spending and generating more revenue in order to reduce the country's debt burden, which has been exacerbated by the onslaught of the pandemic. I'll just leave it there, but it's clear what it says. Prioritize controlling spending and generate more revenue in order to reduce the country's debt. Of course, in recent times, we've heard Mr. Vice President speak about COVID-19 and its impacts on economies across the world. But of course, different economies have addressed the matter in different ways. So what can we do to shore up our economy and make it better, even on the back of COVID-19? In the next minute, I'll wrap up for sports, but let's check out myjoyonline.com. And we have this story there. Mahama's Dumso is different from Akufo-Addo's, and that's a very interesting one. Kwaku Awotwe saying that Mahama's Dumso is different from Akufo-Addo's. Then we also have Task Force destroys excavators allegedly belonging to MPP Women's Organizer. That's the extra gold issue. And then we have DCOP Opariado vows to take action against Delta Force following his attempted forceful removal from office. It's a conversation we're getting into. The system has failed us. Again, father of 12-year-old who died due to unavailability of ambulance service. I'm talking about Michel Nate. He was speaking to me yesterday on the AM show. Police await final report on 2-year-old boy sacrificed by father. You see, another one of those incidents. And then NDC has done more for healthcare in Ghana than MPP. That's Sami Jemfi claiming that if you don't fix health system, outcome won't improve irrespective of procurement you make. Asiedu Sapon saying that. I'll wrap with this one. We pay big money taxes and yet they burn our equipment. Extra Gold Mining Company. You can check out more of our stories on myjoyonline.com. Right now, though, it's time for sports and a lot to talk about. Look forward to that. That's up next on the AM show. Do stay.